Two stories here I want to talk to immigration lawyer Ivon Sampson about. Good morning to you, Ivon.
Good morning, Julia.
First of all, this is the latest government wheeze of how we're going to tackle illegal migration. And it basically, I suppose it's an extension, really, from what we're trying to do with France, giving them, what, £500 million or whatever it is. Please, can you police your borders, stop people coming here? But also then going back to the Iraq, Kurdistan, Vietnam and other countries and basically saying, we're going to give you money. Can you beef up your border to stop people leaving those countries in the first place? First of all, do you think this will work? And second of all, do you think there are other countries we should be doing this to or with?
I think it's wishful thinking on part of the government, to be honest. If you look at the £480 million we handed over to the French with absolutely no performance targets at all, we have no idea what they've done with that money. And then we're expected to give it to countries. This is a Western nation, and we're expected to give it to countries who don't have a sophisticated government system, who don't have good systems of governance, and hand our taxpayers' monies to them, and hoping, please, would you stop people leaving your country? I don't think that's going to.
Do you think they would do it if Keir Starmer or Yvette Cooper, the new Home Secretary, said, pretty please, with honey on top? Do you think if they asked in a nicer way they might do it? Because they seem to be absolutely convinced, these two, that in any issue related to migration, the real issue is you just need to get round a table and you need to be nice to people. So if they said, pretty please, do you think the Iraqis or the Vietnamese would stop people leaving their countries?
You know, if it wasn't such a... I mean, it's funny, but you know what? This is so serious.
Yeah. Because
we do not have a control of our borders. People are coming into our country.
I'm glad you noticed, by
without our consent, and we have no idea. And it's not just people claiming asylum, Julia. Yeah. There are many people who don't claim asylum, who just simply come across and disappear into the black economy. Estimates are about 1 million people, and we forget about them. I mean, what is the government doing about them? They're the people that are here illegally, close to 1 million people who are undocumented in this country. And it's, I think, if you listen to Yvette Cooper while they were in opposition, Labour in opposition, her ideas then were, have safe legal routes. That was the mantra they had against the Rwanda deal, the Rwanda policy the government had of the time. And they've forgotten all that.
Well, but also that wouldn't work anyway. I've never understood why people... I mean, yes, people said they shouldn't come here illegally, they should come legally. And then it was pointed out that actually there's only a few countries from which people can apply to arrive here legally, Ukraine and elsewhere, Hong Kong. And actually, for most people, there isn't an option of applying until you actually get to our shores. That's where you have to literally put your foot onto the beach at Dover before you can actually apply. But the reality is, a lot of these young men, and 90% of them are young men without passports, a lot of them, frankly, wouldn't be able to stay here. They wouldn't be front of the queue for asylum. And so they would have to come through the illegal routes anyway. You know that, I know that. That isn't even a solution.
No, it won't stop those who are not genuine asylum seekers. I agree with you.
Which is most of them. They're economic migrants.
About half. Look, we need
Well, we don't really know because we haven't got their passports, to be fair.
Yes.
But a bit of a giveaway is when someone decides to turn up without a passport. It's a bit of a giveaway, isn't it? Why do they not have their ID, which would prove that they are a genuine asylum seeker because of the country they've come from?
Well, we know they're genuine because 50% of them are deemed by the Home Office to be genuine.
No, that doesn't mean they're genuine. We have a much higher approval rating for asylum seekers than does most of Europe. A lot of these people have actually already been told no thank you from other European countries. But also, a lot of these people aren't granted asylum when these things go to appeal. They are granted leave to stay. They're not necessarily granted asylum. And that's just the ones that go through. And those will be the ones, a tiny proportion of them, those will be the more obvious ones. The many tens and tens of thousands of others haven't even been assessed yet.
Yes, and a lot of them are granted humanitarian protection. But look, we need to remove those people who have not been granted asylum. This is the problem. The problem is, once you get here and suppose that you are refused asylum, I'm afraid we're stuck with them. Because we don't have returns policies.
But we do with a few countries. But the point is, but why are we stuck with them? Other countries don't seem to have an issue with this in Europe. They just ship them out.
Yes, I know. But are you suggesting that we follow the lead of countries like Italy, who literally push them across the border.
Yes.
Are you suggesting we do that?
Yes, 100%.
Well, that's fine. And what you need to do is vote for a party that takes us out the Refugee Convention.
Yes.
Takes us out of UNCLOS, which is the Convention on Laws of the Sea, and takes us out of the European Convention on Human Rights. And what you'll be
all in favour
will be you'd be on the same side as people like Putin and Belarus.
People always cite this. You know what? We managed to actually have human rights in this country before we had all these. We gave a lot of those human rights and values to Europe. I don't think we need a lecture from Europe on how to have a proper human rights in this country. Can I ask you, though? I would say we've gone rather too far. Just want to ask you before you go about this other big story. And this is a paedophile who came from the Democratic Republic of Congo, living here. He's in his early 50s. He was jailed for 3 years in 2020 for what were described as appalling offences, including sex abuse of children, one involving his stepdaughter, 2 other girls in the family. He has been granted appeal, won his appeal at a tribunal to be allowed to stay here. So he's a convicted sex offender. He's not going to be sent back from Scotland to the Democratic Republic of Congo because the tribunal ruled that he does have a human right to a family life. And he, his wife and his 3 children that he did not abuse have a right to live here under that rights. Now, if we are not able to deport a man who has been convicted of horrific sex crimes against children, how on earth he's out after 3 years, good Lord, what the hell is going on in this country, is a shocker. But if we can't deport a convicted paedophile, then all hope is gone, isn't it, under these human rights legislations?
Well, I'm going to tell you about the law. And Article 8, right to family and private life, is a composite right. It's not the right to... If this individual wasn't married and didn't have children, he'd be out. And we've got
very strong law. What difference should it make, then? What difference should it make?
The difference is that what the courts will look at is, would it be unduly harsh for his children, British nationals, perhaps,
perhaps, not necessarily. But wait a minute. In that case, you wouldn't send anyone to prison ever. You wouldn't send him to prison because he didn't have a family life while he was in prison. His family can go with him to Congo.
Well, to be fair, he's paid his price to society by going to prison.
Well, he hasn't. I don't think 3 years behind bars is a price to society for sexual abuse.
But again, it boils down to the convention. If we don't like it, let's come out of it.
Well, ta-da!
If people don't like it, vote for a party that will bring us out. But we can't complain about the law.
No, we can, because it's not what's written in Article 8. It's about the interpretation. You know, a lot of these rights to privacy, family life and all of that, they do have a proviso. There's, in the next sentence, it says, unless there is a threat to, security or, or other people or whatever. There are clauses in it. They're just being willy-nilly ignored by these tribunal judges and by magistrates and by everybody else and the Home Office repeatedly. The interpretation of these rights is just a complete bleeding heart lefty interpretation, as opposed to balancing the right of someone to, you've got a right to a family life, apart from when you sexually abuse children in our country, we want you out. And then you don't have a right to a family life because you have thrown away that right. Off you toddle, take your family with you, ta-da.
The threshold, the reality, Julia, in the courts, the threshold is very high.
Well, it's clearly
the courts do not. No, I disagree with you. I've been to enough tribunal cases.
Here's the story.
No, I know, but we don't know all the facts.
I think we know enough of the facts. What would be a fact that would make it? Well, yeah, he should be able to stay here with his family. What fact could there be? He can't be named, by the way, because we're protecting his children.
If he had a child who was more than 7 years old and settled in the UK, then under the immigration rules, that would be unduly harsh for that child to go to Democratic Republic.
Well, this child is welcome to stay here.
On that basis alone, he'd win.
Well, maybe he should, if he really cared about his kids, maybe he should have thought about that before he sexually abused his stepdaughter and 2 other kids. I don't give 2 hoots about that. The fact that anyone can even justify this blows my mind. Ivon Sampson, always a pleasure to have you on, but God, my head is spinning today. Anyone else?